Okay, in this problem we have a spinner is labeled with 3 colors, red, green, and blue. John spun the spinner once and tossed a coin once. So first we want to find the sample space using a tree diagram, then find the probability of getting green on the spinner and head on the coin, and C, find the probability of getting red or green on the spinner and tail on the coin. So let's set up our sample space. So the first thing he's going to do is the spinner. So let's go ahead and set up the possibilities for the spinner, and I'll even use the colors. So we're going to have red on the spinner is one possibility, or he could have a green on the spinner, or he could have a blue on the spinner. Now, if he spun red and then he goes on and does his coin, he could then go on to get a heads, or he could go on to get a tails. If he gets a green on the spinner and then he does his coin, flips his coin, he could get a head or a tails after having gotten a green. Or after having done a blue, he could then do his coin and he could get a head or a tails. So this is the tree diagram, and it's showing all of the different possibilities. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to actually find the sample space. Okay, so this tree diagram kind of shows us the sample space, but let's actually list out what the sample space is. So the sample space is the set that has all the possible outcomes. So the idea is that every branch of the tree is one possible outcome. So if you look at like this top branch here, that is, you first get a red and then you flip a head. Or if you look at the next branch, right, you could get, that would be a red and then a tail. You could get a green on the spinner and then a head, a green on the spinner and then a tail, or a blue on the spinner and then a head, and then or a blue on the spinner and then a tail. So each thing in our sample space corresponds with one of the branches of the tree diagram. So here, like for example, green on the spinner and then a tail corresponds to this branch, or green on the spinner and then a head, right, corresponds to that branch. So that's our sample space, and that's we used a tree diagram to find it. So that's part A. Now for part B, find the probability of getting green on the spinner and head on the coin. Okay, so the only situation where you have both green on the spinner and head on the coin is this one right here. Right? The other ones don't have both of those things happening. Maybe there's green on the spinner but not head, or maybe there was a head but not green. But remember, it's kind of like, it's the same as kind of the and when we were doing the truth table. In order to have green on the spinner and head on the coin, you need to have both of those things be true. You need to have it be green and also be a head. So there's only one possibility out of a total of 6. Okay, so the probability of, I'll just be like GH, is there's one possible way to get green on the spinner and head on the coin out of a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of a total of 6 things. Okay. Now for part C, find the probability of getting red or green on the spinner and a tail on the coin. So let me circle in yellow. Okay. So red or green is fine, but and a tail. It has to be a tail. So red and a head doesn't work, but red and a tail does. So I'm circling yellow for part C. Okay, red and a tail is fine. Green and a head isn't fine, right? Because red or green is fine, but and a tail, right? It has to the tail part is mandatory. Either red or green is fine, but and a tail. So green and a head doesn't work, but green and a tail does work. Okay? And blue doesn't work, blue doesn't work. So going through my 6 possibilities, there are 2 of them that have either red or green on the spinner and also have a tail on the coin. So for C, there are 2 possibilities out of 6, so 1/3.